Hello friends and welcome back. It is the fourth and final week of BATTLEATHON. I cannot believe that this month has already flown by. We are already at the end of BATTLEATHON. It has been an incredible month so far and I'm so excited to see who comes out on top. So for this week we are going to be doing something a little bit different and all of my hosts are going to be choosing what I read. But I didn't just ask them and plan to read some books. Like, of course, we didn't retire the spinning wheel. So every host has given me one book to read, and then we also have Spin Again and Celebrity Pick. So if I hit Spin Again, obviously I'll spin again. If I hit Celebrity Pick, I'm planning to just ask one of my friends that's not a host to pick a book for me. And then if I land on their book, obviously they can give me a second book to read. So the theory is that I'm going to be reading these books and they are going to be getting the points for their team based on what I rated the books. So I'm very, very hopeful that they will pick books that they think that I'm going to like. So we need to do our first spin and see what I'm going to be reading. That landed on Death's Beating Heart, which is right here. This is Eska. This is the fifth and final Eska book. I am so excited to be able to read this. Obviously, this was Cassidy's pick for the red team, and she said it felt like cheating and a cop-out because this is probably going to be a 5-star. I love Eska. I have rated most of the books in that series, either a 4 or a 5-star. I think there was one 3-star in there. But either way, very excited to read this one. I do have it on audio because Nora Quick is one of the, she's the voice of Eska, and I love listening to it audibly, so I'm so excited that I get to kick off this vlog with this. Hey guys, so I did want to give you a quick update because I'm about 3 hours or, I don't know, 15-ish% into Death's Beating Heart by Rob J. Hayes. And of course, I am loving this one. This is the fifth and final book in the War Eternal series, which follows Eska. If you have no idea what the Eska series is about, this is a series where there are mages and the mages swallow certain elements or sources in order to get their magic. But the magic has a caveat, and if you're not attuned to this source, it's going to kill you. If you are attuned to the source, it's going to kill you, just not quite as fast. And they're constantly having to throw up their sources so they don't have magic at all times. I just find that a really interesting and cool magic system. But Eska essentially was a mage fighting on the wrong side of the war, on the side of the war that lost, and she ends up being taken prisoner and put down in the slums to mine, essentially just to give them something to do, to give the prisoners something to do. And she wants out, and she wants out badly. There is also another war going on behind the scenes. I won't really tell you what that war is because that is a bit of a spoiler, but I absolutely love the world and the relationships that Rob J. Hayes created in the War Eternal series. Eska, one of my favorite main characters of all time, so I am so excited and slightly sad to be finishing out this series. So far, I am really, really enjoying it. He does kind of drop you in, and this is a relatively common theme where we're just kind of dropped into the middle of what's going on, and they are scrambling to make things happen. The thing that I did not love as much about book 4 has been, I don't want to say resolved, but the thing that I love about the series is a thing again in book 5. We'll leave it at that because I don't want to spoil you guys, but I am quite enjoying it so far. Again, the world is super cool. I love that relationship, and we do have a cool relationship between her and her children. If you don't know, the 4th and 5th book are actually set like, I don't know, 15 or 20 years after the first book, or after the first trilogy, so it is definitely a big time jump, and a few things have obviously changed since then, but the core of the story stays the same, and I'm having a great time with it. Don't really have a whole lot else to say about that. Today was a fun day. Ran some errands, did some things, watched some football. I am now home. It is 7:30 and I need to get some more reading in because this is the first day and I need to bring it for all of the teams in week 4. So I'm gonna get off of here. I'm gonna go hang out with Ollie. David's gonna be here soon with all of his hooligans, and I'm sure that that will mean more chaos to come. Hi friends, so I have had a very busy day today. David and I went out to lunch and then we did a little bit more decorating and we've just been kind of hanging out. It's been a really fun day. I went to the grocery store because I absolutely hate going to the grocery store, but I'm gonna try to get a little bit better about cooking at home. I know I've said that before, but I love crockpot season. It's like my favorite season because for me, if I make something before I leave for work in the morning, then most of it is completely finished by the time I get home, and I don't really like having to spend an extra 30 minutes when I get home from work trying to cook. I'm just too tired for that typically. And then if it's ready and it's cooked, then I don't need to waste the money by throwing it out and getting something on my way home. Whereas if I choose to make something when I get home, then I could very easily just say, nah, I don't feel like making that, and pick something up on the way home. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it. Tomorrow I think is going to be like a chicken pot pie type situation, mostly because my hamburger meat is not thawed yet. We bought it from a meat market when I went to Iceland a few weeks ago, and it's just not thawed yet. So anyway, all of that to say, I have been reading Death's Beating Heart while I've been editing and cleaning and putting up some decorations and things like that, and I am still really, really enjoying this one. I think for me, this is having a little bit of repetitiveness to it that I've noticed in all of the books, but it just feels like we are talking about things that happened in previous books over and over and over again, and I'm like, okay, yeah, but I've read that already. This is the last book. Like, you don't have to remind me constantly about things that happened in the previous books, and it's not that I'm not enjoying it because of that, but it is very noticeable. I am liking that we are getting a little bit of Syrax's point of view, though. She is reminding us about some of these things that happened, but it is through her eyes, or its eyes. It's not really a her, through its eyes, and I think that that's really interesting to see how Syraxus thought about all of this after already having Eska's perspective, so I am liking that quite a bit. I'm about halfway through it now, so only about 3 hours of listening time to go. Hoping I can make a pretty good dent in it tonight because David really wants to spin the wheel before he leaves, and I don't know if you guys are sick of him spinning the wheel yet, but he's gonna spin the wheel again before he leaves. So I do need to make a pretty solid dent in this, and then I can finish it up tomorrow on the way to work, and I need something for on my way home from work. I think that that's really about it. I don't have a whole lot more to say. I obviously love Eska. I love that relationship. I'm not loving the family side of things as much as I did the found family. So these are broken up into a trilogy and then a duology. And the trilogy focuses on Eska when she was younger, and it focuses on her and her found kind of family. And I really liked that dynamic. And now we've moved on to Eska as an adult and her own family that she has birthed and created. And while I still like that and I still am engaged by it, I definitely am not liking it quite as much as I did the found family side of things. I think it's just because they had really good like banter and they really fed off of each other extremely well, and instead it just feels like her catering to her children and her children kind of whining at her. Again, all of these are minor nitpicks. It still feels like at least a solid 4-star for me right now. I'm having a ton of fun. I love being in Eska and in this world. I think that the other world is super cool, and I'm curious to see how that plays into the book further on. But I'm gonna go cook dinner. We are having whitefish, green beans, and mac and cheese tonight. Super basic, but it takes me like less than 30 minutes to do, and I'm tired. So that's what I'm gonna go do now, and I will check in with you guys once I am a little closer or if finished with this for David to do his next spin. Hello friends, I am freshly showered and ready to talk to you about Death's Beating Heart by Rob J. Hayes. I finished this on my way home from work today and thoroughly enjoyed it. There's just something about Eska that is so, I don't want to say like coming home, but it kind of feels like it. It's just a way to settle in, and I always feel very like, I know I'm going to enjoy my time whenever I'm reading an Eska book, even though Eska is very much so a badass, sarcastic, not always a great person kind of character. I just love her character and the relationship between her and another character, that it's gonna make this book a solid read for me no matter what. With that being said, I did like the first trilogy a little bit better than the second duology, and a lot of that I think just had to do with the secondary characters. I didn't care as much about the focus being on motherhood, and I wanted a little bit more like depth to the side characters, which in this case were her children. I just never felt like I really got to know them. It did try, but we were always getting it through Eska's perspective, which again is totally fine. I love Eska. I love seeing it through her perspective, but because of that, they were just always her kids. They never really felt like full fleshed out characters to me. But at the same time, the story is Eska's story. It's not really meant to be their story. So in a way, that's still okay. For me too, the pacing of this one was not as great in the beginning. It did feel very repetitive in the beginning, and I loved seeing Syraxus's point of view and these memories and the first kind of events of the first trilogy through their perspective. I thought that that was really, really cool. But otherwise, I just felt like we did a lot of talking about things that had already happened, and that part was a little monotonous for me. But the second half I really enjoyed. I liked the plot in this one. I do feel like this ended very appropriately for Eska's character. I think it concluded her story in a very satisfying way. All hail the Corpse Queen. I love the way that that was discussed at the very end of the story. I also do agree with some of the other reviews that said that mental health is dealt with really well in this book. I completely agree with that. We see a little bit more of Eska's journey and how she is handling things and her inner thoughts on how she views herself versus how other people view her, how Saraxis views her. And I thought that that was extremely well done. I really, really liked that part of the story as well. Again, I highly, highly, highly recommend this series. If you were looking for a badass, snarky, flawed main character with really good relationships and a particular friendship that is one of my favorites in books, I highly recommend this series. It also has a really cool world, super interesting magic system. I recommend this series wholeheartedly through and through. So I think I'm going to give this book a 5-star. I love Eska so much, and the more I sit on it, the more it just feels, I don't know, it feels right. So I think this is going to be a 5-star. It's going to get 500 points for the red team because this was Cassidy's pick, but it is not a backlist book because the audiobook just came out this year and the paperback came out in 2022. So it doesn't quite meet that backlist, but it's still going to get 500 points for the red team. So that's pretty solid. Now let's flip to you seeing David spin for me because he spun yesterday before he left. He could not leave without spinning the wheel, obviously. And then we'll talk about my next read. Okay, friends, so I have made it to within about an hour and a half of Death's Beating Heart, which means that I'm going to easily finish that on my way to work and at lunch tomorrow. So we need a book for on my way home, and David's of course here, and he cannot possibly leave without spinning the wheel. So we are going to let him spin and see what my second book for this week, chosen by the host, is going to be. I like the underhanded spin.
Up. It's not supposed to go backwards.
Spin again. Spin again.
That's why I don't do it this way. It goes backwards when you spin it backwards.
Well, it's part of the way you're holding it.
Here we go.
Would it land on butterfly guard?
Yeah, butterfly.
Hey! Okay, that would work. Okay, so we got spin again, and then it landed on butterfly guard. And they can't hear me if you just keep spinning, so... Did you hear that? You'll say it louder for the people.
The wheel rolls.
What did you say?
The wheel rolls.
That is not what you said. So we ended up with Butterfly Garden, which is Rye's pick. So green team will be getting my points for this one. I'm excited about this. It's been like on my radar for a really long time. And I know that she read it not too long ago and thoroughly enjoyed it. I believe it is a dark serial killer type situation. I'm excited to give it a try. Maybe I can even talk David into reading it with me. Who knows? I got it. But that's going to be my next read. I think it's on Scribd, so that works out really, really well. If not, I'm 90% sure it's on Kindle Unlimited. So I'm excited to shake it up a little bit away from the fantasy and read like a thriller horror. Okay, guys, so you just saw him spin, and you saw that I got the Butterfly Garden, which was there we go, which was Rye's pick, and Rye is one of the hosts for the green team, so the green team will be getting my points for this book. I'm about 13% of the way in, and I am liking it so far, but it is definitely not what I expected. We're opening up from these FBI agents that have done some kind of raid and found a bunch of girls holed up somewhere in all sorts of different conditions. Some of them died on the way to the hospital, some of them are currently in the hospital, but we have one that all of the girls were kind of looking to named Maya, and she is in the interrogation room while they're trying to get to the bottom of what happened with a man called the Gardener. And basically he took all of these girls, tattooed wings on them, and called them his butterflies in his butterfly garden, which is the name of the story. You find all of that out in the first like 5-6%, so I don't feel like that's a spoiler. This is gonna sound bad, but I don't know if it's my preconceived notions of the story about what I had heard about it, but I definitely expected it to be darker than it is so far, and I kind of wish that it was. And I just expected it to be darker than it is. It really is shying over and like cut to black or fade to black some of the more detail and rougher aspects of the story, which I do feel like is kind of important when you're telling a story like this, is for you not to shy away from the tough stuff, because if anybody were to ever go through something like this, it's gonna have the tough stuff. And so I feel like that deserves to be discussed. But at the same time, I can't really tell if that is to add mystery to the story or if it is intentionally just going to be fade to black for everything. I don't know yet. So I am going to continue reading. I am intrigued, but I would not say that I am hooked. Intrigued but not hooked, I think is a good way of putting it. So this one is super short. I'm hoping to finish it very, very soon. Like I said, I got to 13% on sprints tonight, and hopefully we'll finish this first thing tomorrow. Then I will check in with you guys and we will need to do yet another spin. Look at me go this week. It's only Monday and I'm already a book and a half down. Hello, good evening. I have just gotten home from work. It is 5:30 and I am tired, but while at work today, I was able to finish the Butterfly Gardens. So I want to really quickly talk to you guys about that, and then we need to spin for my next book. The Butterfly Garden, I think, is going to be very, very hard for me to talk about for a couple of reasons. One, I have a little bit of mixed feelings on it. And two, obviously this is a very sensitive nature type story, and I don't want to sound callous by reviewing it in a critical way in regards to the subject matter. But just keep in mind that the subject matter and the critical review of the book itself are two very different things. And I'm not talking about that type of subject matter lightly. So with that being said, this book does have a lot of trigger warnings. Look those up if you need them before you go into this. It is quite dark. I remember saying before that I wasn't sure if it was really gonna go there as far as darkness, but then within the next chapter, it did go there and it was quite dark overall. I think for me, the story handled grief, it handled trauma, it handled a lot of different types of things very, very well. However, in the same vein, there were some things that I didn't love as much. I think that the story itself was interesting. I think I might have liked it a little bit better if we had not been flipping back and forth between the present cop point of view and her telling the story in the past, because it made the entire story not necessarily exposition, but I was not as engaged. And I think a lot of that just had to do with, we're following Maya, who is one of the girls that was rescued, but she's just telling you her story, and unfortunately we don't get a lot of personality from her or a ton of personality from the other girls. It exists, but she's mostly just like this super sarcastic, spunky girl that's gonna tell you how it is like a normal teenager, but it just, I don't know, it never translated super well for me. It never made me believe that she had gone through this type of trauma, and it was pretty significant. So I don't know, I just never connected super well with that aspect of things. The FBI agent was just there to get her to talk. There really wasn't a lot helpful as far as his character was concerned. So I don't know, there were things that I liked about it, which namely was just, I think it handled the trauma really well, and I think it definitely got its point across in the type of story that it was trying to be. But at the same time, I think I wanted a little bit more from it, and I don't know if that's a me thing, because this book was very highly rated across the board. Everybody loves it, but I just never connected with it. I was intrigued but not obsessed with it by any means. So I think this is going to get a 3-star. Thank you, Rye, for suggesting it to me. So we are going to be getting 300 points for the dragons. And I was not able to borrow this from the library. I tried, but I was not able to get it from the library, so it won't get any additional points as far as that goes. So I guess really quickly, let's grab the wheel and see what I'm going to be reading next. Okay, so our next spin. Wow, this is gonna go on for forever. Spin again. Also, I did forget to take out Butterfly Garden. That one's gonna be Sophie Lark. I need to fix that. Okay, so we're gonna spin again. Stowaway. Okay. So we got the Stowaway. I think this is co-authored, and I don't exactly remember who the authors are, so I will leave a cover of it up here. But that is Lexi's pick. So the Red Dragons will be getting the points for this one. She said she was having a hard time picking a book, but she was aiming for a book that I was going to like and not hate, and give at least a 3-star. So I am hopeful that I will enjoy this one. We're gonna do back-to-back thrillers. Lexi, I'm trusting you. Let's hope this is at least a I like it kind of read. You guys, I'm editing my TBR right now, and I don't think that I'm funny, but I'm cackling at this. I cannot believe that I am going to put this TBR on the internet, but I am. You guys have already seen it by the time that this vlog goes live, so I will link it up here for you, but like, Patricia came to play. Like, my TBR apparently was not good enough for her, and she needed to haunt me and fix it for me. I'll give you guys just a little snippet of it here, but oh my gosh, I cannot believe that I put that on the internet. I can't with her. I can't. So, instead, she's going to be reading What Kind of Mother by Clay McCloy Chapman. Okay, so let's quickly talk first impressions on The Stowaway. This is one, obviously, that was recommended by Lexi. She said it was a lot of fun, she had a great time with it, and she was really hoping that I would just enjoy it because she doesn't really know my taste in thrillers, and let's be honest, I don't know my taste in thrillers. And so it's kind of hard for me to be able to gauge whether or not I'm gonna like something. Typically speaking, I don't love thrillers that have a twist that comes out of nowhere, and I typically don't like thrillers that make you give up a ton of logic in order to follow the plot. So those are two things that I don't love in thrillers, but I do want to be kind of on the edge of my seat and entertained. This one is following a woman who is on a juror. So it opens up in a courtroom and she is on the jury for a case involving a man who brutalized children. So just a heads up, if you have any trigger warnings, if you have any triggers, this is one that you want to look up. It did go a lot darker really early than I expected. And so she's on this jury and there is some circumstantial evidence. She's not sure if she should vote guilty or not guilty, and she goes with her gut and votes not guilty. And so there's a lot of public outrage because they were convinced that this guy did it and she let him go free. And she's having to deal kind of with those repercussions. And in order to get away from it all, she decides to go on a cruise with her family, and the cruise has some sinister complications. We'll just put it that way. And I'm liking the beginning of this. This is definitely a popcorn thriller. This is not one of those that you're required to have a lot of in-depth thoughts about. It's just fun, and so far I'm engaged. The characters are nothing to write home about. These characters are purely there to service the plot. They're kind of cardboardish to me right now, but that's okay. I mean, in a thriller, especially a thriller as short as this one, I don't always expect the characters to be like the super well fleshed out, but they are very cookie cutter, like very cookie cutter characters right now. So either way, I'm having fun. Like I said, I'm not loving it, but I am having a good time. I could see it being a 3-star. Depending on the end, it could be a 4-star. This is one of those that I do recommend. If you're going on a cruise and you want a book about a cruise, read this one. It's fun. Or don't read this one if you're gonna freak yourself out. But I'm enjoying it. I think it is interesting. I think it is a good time, and we're gonna see how it continues. I'm only about 20-ish%. I did read it a little bit on sprints, and so I'm hoping that I can finish it on my way to work tomorrow. I anticipate that not being a problem because this book is only like 7-hour single speed. So super quick read. I think I'm gonna fly through it, and we may in the morning do a spin for my ride home book. Hello friends, I am off of work and I am waiting at the restaurant. I'm gonna go in and eat dinner with my mom real quick. But before I did that, I wanted to tell you guys that I finished the Stowaway on my way to work this morning, and I'm not 100% sure. I think I'm gonna end up giving this one a 3-star. There were a lot of things about it that I did enjoy. I think it's a fun popcorn thriller. It's something that if you just want something quick and fast that you don't really have to think a whole lot about, jump on it, because this definitely was a popcorn thriller. There are some horror elements. It did go a lot darker than I was expecting it to, so that was an interesting twist. However, there was not a lot of what I feel like substance to this. It did require you to suspend a pretty good bit of belief. We obviously have our main character, and she is one of the jurors in the trial, and I think I've already given you guys a synopsis on this, but I don't know. None of the characters were particularly, I wouldn't even say likable. They didn't have a lot of personality. There wasn't a lot to them. They were kind of bland and just there to have something to move the plot forward. And then the twist, unquote twist at the end, I don't know. The motives behind everything, I just did not buy. And then it almost made the rest of the story, or the beginning, like non-existent. I just didn't really see the point, honestly, behind all of it. So I don't know. On the one hand, I liked it, and on the other hand, I had a lot of suspending belief issues with it. I think it's going to come out at a super, super low 3-star because I didn't dislike my time with it. I definitely had fun while I was reading it, but I did have some, obviously, logic problems with it. So, man, I am shiny today. So I think that that's all on that one. And then I did a spin before I left for work this morning because I knew that I was going to need a book for my drive home from work. So you guys are probably seeing that right at the moment. I am filming while there's people walking around me and it's quite awkward. Okay, so you guys just saw the spin and I got Prison Healer, and this was Kaylee's pick. It's not one that I hear many people talk about. I actually didn't realize Kaylee liked it so much. Sorry, there's so much traffic going on behind me. And she said that since I had been reading a little bit more YA and enjoying it, and it had trials and it was a little bit romantic, she thought I would enjoy it. This one is one that is following a girl who was sent to a prison when she was very young. It is like the prison for all of the kingdoms, and she has been there for 10 years and earned a place as the prison healer. And she keeps getting notes from her family that they're coming, there's a rebellion, and she's just kind of stuck here. And then one day a gentleman comes in and he like has banter with her and she makes a friendship essentially. There is a trial aspect to this that has just been introduced, and I'm having a little bit of issues with it even so far. I'm only 9 chapters in. This does feel very young adult. It feels very young adult. It's very angsty, which is not necessarily a problem. They have pretty good banter, but it's just a lot of tell not show. There is a lot of telling me things, not necessarily showing me what's going on, or telling me things over and over and over and over. I think we heard that she was in the prison for 10 years, or she'd survived the prison for 10 years, no less than 7 times in the first 3 chapters. So that kind of stuff is really grating on my nerves a little bit, and I'm having some problems with like the logic side of things, and I really feel like I probably shouldn't quite this early. This story is about a prison that is so hard to survive, especially if you get sent to certain areas, and there are apparently executions every day. But now they have a prisoner that they're going to put through this trial because it's not survivable, and it's like an easy way to kill somebody and to make a spectacle. But I feel like you could easily make a spectacle and kill someone with an execution. So I don't really understand the logic behind it. Maybe we're going to get a little bit more information on that here pretty soon. I'm not disliking it, but I'm feeling the YA. I will say I am feeling the young adult. And I don't want that to sound like this horrible thing, because it's not. I've read some amazing young adult stories recently. Fireborn, where you at? I have loved some young adult stories. But my problem with YA mostly comes from when we are not given answers to things, because teenagers are still perfectly able to understand plot holes and need answers. So I don't feel like that needs to be something in YA, but I feel like it often is. And then when it's so repetitive and just so like, I'm gonna tell you this because you can't figure it out for yourself, which again, I don't think we give teenagers enough credit. I think that they are plenty smart enough to figure out some of this basic stuff by themselves. So that to me is more of a writing flaw than a young adult flaw, but I do find it in a lot of young adults. So anyway, I've probably been talking longer than I need to be. I still have hopes for this one because, like I said, Kaylee really enjoyed it, but the beginning has been a little bit bumpy, shall we say. Hello guys, so I need to talk to you about the Prison Healer. Before I do that though, I wanted to show you guys that I bought yarn. I wasn't planning to buy yarn, but I don't know, it's getting cooler weather, and when it gets cooler weather, I just get the itch to crochet again. So I think that I am going to do something. What it is, I don't know. I want to try to figure out how to do like the little plushies and stuff, but I'm waiting on a different set of yarn, like little eyes and stuff like that, to come in for that. So I don't know, maybe this will be another blanket. Like I need another blanket, but it just gives me something to do with my hands when I'm listening to audiobooks. So I think I'm gonna do that. This package is not really exciting. I thought it was gonna be exciting, but it's not. It's my recipe book. So I actually bought a crock pot like recipe cards thing, and I'm pretty sure that that's what this is, although I didn't even know that this was shipped yet, so I'm kind of surprised to see it show up, because like it hadn't even shipped yet, and I don't know why something so tiny came in such a big box. Yeah, this is like little bitty to come in such a giant box. Like this is the actual card set. I don't know, I just feel like I do better when I have the physical cards and I'm not having to look for my computer, pull up the recipe, see what all I'm doing. I like to have the physical card set, so that's what I bought. I've made a couple of recipes out of this. If you guys want to know what the company is, just comment and I will leave it for you guys. It is a local company, so I'm not sure if you can get it everywhere, but it's called the Passionate penny pincher, I think. And it's just obviously a little card meal planning thing. I'll open that up later. But yeah, so I've been stalling. I don't want to talk to you guys about the Prison Healer because I think I'm gonna DNF it. I'm not vibing with it, and I don't know that it's necessarily the book's fault, but it's not aimed toward me, and I'm not overly engaged by it. I got about 30-ish% of the way in, so I can count this for the blue team, so they will get some points out of it, but unfortunately, it's not hitting with me. I think the writing is just not working for me. It feels very slow. It's taken to 30% for us to even start to mention the trials, which was like the whole point of the plot. And I'm just not vibing with it. So I think I'm gonna put it down for now. Maybe I'll go back to it in the future, but it's just not working for me. So gonna put that one down. We will need to do another spin here in just a minute to see what my last and probably final book is going to be, because I don't have a lot of time left. Today is Thursday evening and BATTLEATHON ends on Saturday, which is sad and surprising. I actually don't know what exactly the plans look like on Saturday, because it's actually my mom's birthday tomorrow. I need to remember to text her. And we usually go out to eat for people's birthdays. That's kind of our present, is just we pick a restaurant that we wouldn't normally go to and enjoy a family dinner or lunch. So that may end up happening on Saturday. My mom really hates crowds, so she is not gonna wanna go on a Friday night. But yeah, I think that that's everything for now. I will check back in with you guys when I am ready to do my next spin. So I am finally off work and I am about to go to Starbucks because I'm tired. I got to work at 7 a.m. this morning and I have so much to do today preparing for us to go out of town and go to Maine next week. Don't get me wrong, I am so very excited to be going to Maine. We're going to be doing so much fun stuff. Like it's going to be incredible, but I need to pre-film a lot of videos so that you guys won't notice that I'm gone. And because of this, that means I need to get 2 vlogs and 2 sit down videos ready for you guys. I'm only going to be gone 1 week, but when I get back, I just don't want to be like scrambling to get everything filmed and back up again. So I'd rather have it mostly done by the time I get back. So that's my plan for today. Maybe some sprints. I haven't fully decided on that yet. But first, we're getting Starbucks.
Hi, welcome to Starbucks. My name is Anaya. What can I get for you today?
Can I get a grande white chocolate mocha with non-fat milk?
Hot or ice?
Hot, please.
Would you still like whipped cream?
Yes, please.
What else can I get for you?
That's it. Okay, I got my grande. I did want to tell you guys that I had spun the wheel again and got Cardinal Games, which is Kitty's pick, which is the black team. But Kitty like cackled in delight when she realized that she got to pick a book, and she was like, I'm ready to get those 25 points for the black team. She wants me to read Monster Smut. So we're reading Monster Smut. This is sci-fi Monster Smut, and it has games, and it's interesting. I'm only like 9% in, and oh my goodness, some of the things that this book has already introduced, like, oh my gosh. I think one of the quotes when she like goes into the game part was like something of the nature of no clothes, no weapons, but I have enormous knockers or something like that. And they had like given her big boobs to make her more appealing to the audience or whatever. But I don't know. It's just a little wild so far. And okay, that's what I'm gonna do after I get all of my like pre-filming done, is I am going to read Monster Smut. So I hope that you are ready for some very interesting quotes and probably facial expressions.
They said if I did not please you, they'd take turns before sending me to the flesh pits. You can imagine how young we might fare in such lawless, licentious places. Any who comfort you will taste my claws. He straightened to his full height.
Even the tiniest movement sent the ladies quaking. Oh my gosh, this book. I can't. Hey friends, so I wanted to give you a super fast update on Cardinal Games. This was the pick that Kitty gave me, and Kitty was like, I know that this is just going to be something that you're going to read for a fun time, not a long time. And honestly, she's probably right, although I'm going to try to get as much of it read as I can today. Today is the final day of BATTLEATHON, but I have made a new rule where if you get to at least 50% or further, you can count it. And so I'm hoping I can get at least to 50%. I am currently at 25%, and honestly, this book has a very interesting concept. It is about a woman who is seeking revenge on a guy that stole her eye. He is an alien, and this is a sci-fi world where aliens are pretty normal. He's kind of scary looking, and he is like this commander that's been outcasted or whatever, and she is seeking revenge on him, and one day they both get captured and they get set up to battle against each other in these games, and these games are for like the whole Galactica's entertainment or whatnot. It's actually a pretty interesting concept. I like the world building. I actually think it's pretty well written, but I am a little bit bored at this point because now that the initial setup and kind of the shock value of everything being very sexual and some funny one-liners, which I think you guys have already heard, we're not really doing a whole lot. It's just kind of them wandering around, getting told some things, but they're not actually engaging at all at the moment. And so I am a little bit bored by that, but I'm hoping that we pick back up into the shockingness of it here pretty soon. But yeah, I just wanted to give you guys a quick update because I feel like I had not officially updated you yet. You've probably seen some clips of me being like, what the heck? And definitely what the heck on some of those moments. But yeah, I'm gonna go back to reading that. We are on the final Battleathon sprints. I cannot believe it's almost over, but I will check in with you guys later tonight when I have gotten about as far as I'm gonna be able to get and wrap up my thoughts on Cardinal Games. Good morning, friends. It is Sunday morning, which means that Battleathon has completely come to an end. I cannot believe that this month is over. It completely flew by, and it's been so much fun to hang out with everybody this month and to just enjoy the month of reading books that we wanted to read. Quickly, let me tell you that I did get to about 40-50% into Cardinal Games. It was gonna be like a 2-3 star for me. It was actually not bad. It was well written. I just was not super engaged with the story, and obviously it was an interesting time, some of the conversations that we were having in that book. So thank you, Kitty, for an interesting evening and final Battleathon read. So really quickly, we need to go over who the winners of Battleathon are, as well as some fun stats for you guys in case you were curious of how many 5-star reads that we read, how many pages we read, etc. So this was the final week. Everybody reset at 0, and they were only battling the team in which they were matched up against in the bracket. So the red team and the black team were battling for 1st and 2nd place, and then the blue team and the green dragons were battling for 3rd and 4th place. So in 3rd place we had the green dragons. So the green dragons came out on top against the blue dragons, and they managed to snag 3rd place by a small margin, but they did manage to snag 3rd place. And then we had the red versus the black dragons for 1st and 2nd place, and the red dragons came out on top. They were victorious and are going to be leading us into battle with black team coming in 2nd place. It was a wild month. We had a lot of fluctuation. Red team honestly did great all month long. They were the team to beat, and I'm so excited to have our lead dragons leading us into battle. If you guys were curious about how many books we read around 8,800 books, which is huge. That is amazing. We ended up reading about 2,971,943 pages. That is insane. That is a crazy number of pages. You guys crushed it. Obviously, page count didn't really matter for this readathon. It was just for a fun stat, but like, that is insane. The number of most total books read went to the green team, but they were the biggest, so it was averaged out by person, not by just the whole value of points. And then obviously they read the most pages as well because they were the biggest by double the smallest team. So definitely not surprised that they read the most pages and the most books. So the most stars were actually 4 stars. We had 2,748 4 stars, 1,257 3 stars, 244 stars, 29 1 stars, and 135 DNFs. So actually that was not too bad. And then we had 2,375 stars, which was incredible. The green team had the most number of 5 stars, but just by a small margin, followed by the black and then blue and then red. But again, that trends with the spread of how many people were on each team. And then the bonus prompts were used 4,662 times, which is just, I mean, absolutely incredible. You guys crushed it this month. I cannot believe how well everyone did and how much fun we had. Maybe I will see you guys again next year. If there's something that you want to see, let me know down in the comments below. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me this month, watching my content. It means the absolute world to me, and it really allows me to be able to do these again in the future because this is how my channel grows, and this is how we have such an amazing community community surrounding us. So thank you guys once again. If you want to just leave me an emoji to let me know that you were here, leave me a sword emoji because we have now completed the battle. As always, links to my Patreon, Instagram, Twitter, and Goodreads are all down in the description box below. Please give this video a big thumbs up if you liked it, subscribe if you want to, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.